We're live, you guys, with Thriving Couples, our fourth week, our final week of Thriving Couples. We've had nothing but goodness that come to us the first couple of the first few weeks. I had a little message that says one of my things won't be broadcasting. Let me remove that real quick. Um, so we've been pumping it out. There's been a lot of goodness. We're gonna have more goodness today. I'm excited for you guys. Before we get into our first guest, and while people are still arriving, I just want to talk about something that comes across my desk or has been coming across my desk frequently, specifically with relationships. And when we talk about thriving couples, an important concept and topic is your attitude. Your attitude towards what's going on in your relationship is super important, and you don't realize how much pressure you put on your relationship or how much pressure you put on the people around you if you can't fix your attitude. And so what does that mean? Well, a lot of times our disposition on life and how we see things and our lens is constantly about a confrontation, or it's constantly about what the challenge is, or how do I fix other people, or how will somebody else do something that's going to help me, or how will somebody do something else so that I can feel better, right? And if I constantly have that look, that kind of attitude puts me in a situation where I'm always going to be upset about life. And specifically for us, where I'm always going to be upset about my relationship, right? So you have to fix your attitude. You have to really work on you to get to a different spot and see things differently. People aren't out to get you. Your partner is not really your enemy. It might feel like it in moments, but you can't forget the idea that there's love at the core of it. And whatever it is that your partner is doing in life doesn't necessarily mean that it's against you. And at some rate, I'm sure it's the best that they can do. It's not necessarily the best that we want them to do, but it's the best they can do for that moment. And their only chance of improving, if they're not seeing anything else or starting to really work on their own, the only chance for them improving anyways would be your attitude, right? That would be the only thing. So it's not your fault that they're in the position that they're in, or they're not doing the things that they need to be doing, but your attitude gives a good chance and opportunity for life to be different for you and for your partner. All right. So can you switch your mind about how you're going about things? You can't have this mindset that your partner will never do the right things, or that your partner is not going to do right by you. Matter of fact, by the time you get done infesting yourself with all that energy that says like somebody else isn't doing things right, now you're at a point where you're doing things that you don't even want to be a part of. You're at a point where you're being somebody that you wouldn't even want to be with, right? So your challenge is to fix your attitude. The more that you fix your attitude, you start getting your relationship into a thriving space, because the sky's the limit at that point in time. If we're both looking out for each other, if we're making sure that in our relationships that our persons are honored and that they're loved and that they're cared for, and we know and understand their life and the things that they're going through, if we do that for each other, then everything changes. But if one of us has an attitude of like, I got to wait till you go first, or I'm not going to be better than what I'm being in this moment, it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be really hard to thrive. So we have to switch it over. I mean, you're not, even if you say, you know what, well, Thomas, I'm done with this relationship. Well, you're gonna have to fix it for the next one anyways. So start fixing it, start working on it, right? Start figuring out how can I have a good attitude in the worst scenarios, because then that's going to make me better for life in general and as we move forward. Okay. So I just want to challenge you guys to do that. I mean, I know it's not easy. It's not always easy to have the right kind of attitude that's really going to help us out. But that's what thriving is all about, is being in a better place and being able to shape yourself differently. All right. Our first guest is Taylor Mountain. Taylor is going to be presenting for us, and I will let Taylor introduce Taylor's self. Let me bring you on, Taylor.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Taylor Mountain. I'm the founder of Tailored Living. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist in the states of Illinois and soon to be Maryland. But where I'm presenting from is my work-life balance and relationship coaching business. So I like to just make sure that we're able to live the best lives that we can. We're able to balance the work that we have the best relationships that we want. So what I will be focusing on for today is the role of boundaries in couple time. So there's always a way. It may not seem like there is, but I do believe there truly is a way. So there will be some tips and information that you can take from here to hopefully apply to your relationship so that you can get the most out of your schedule so you can have time with your partner. So first, we're looking at the overall problem. So couples in general have a hard time making sure that they are balancing work, relationships, time for themselves, time for family, time for their kids. So sometimes these other tasks tend to take more focus, and it could be for just one partner, it could be for both partners. Then, when we are kind of focused on those other things, we fill our time with things that we can do ourselves. Maybe it means doing things with friends, or it could just be other activities or something outside of the house, but something that still keeps us from doing it with our partner. So then what ends up happening is there's just this gradual disconnect. Typically, it's an emotional disconnect that you have with your partner. So coming from there, we're looking at how boundaries can be helpful so that you can have more time with your partner. So it's important first to acknowledge that there is an issue. So if only one of you sees it as an issue and your partner doesn't see that, then it's going to be really hard to make some changes. But if you can both see that you haven't been able to connect as much, do enough together, then your next step is to really look at what your schedule is like. So this could be work outside of the home, work in the home. Maybe you're taking care of your children, or you're running a business, but you're looking at what your schedule is and seeing where there could be some changes made. So from there, you're looking at where you already have boundaries set up, but then also where you can add more boundaries or have just stronger boundaries so that you can prioritize your relationship and take time with your partner. So what do we know about boundaries in general? It's saying that boundaries are limits you put in place in various areas of your life to protect your mental health and sanity. Wikipedia defines personal boundaries as the practice of openly communicating and asserting personal values as a way to preserve and protect against having them compromised or violated, or our values protected. Also, without healthy boundaries, we allow others to override our own feelings and desires. And then boundaries are an external expression of an internal self affirmation, which means knowing and affirming what is important to us. So, boundaries are good for our personal lives, it's good in our relationships, it's good for work, all aspects. But in particular, we're looking more at the couple relationship. So the benefits of having boundaries within your in your life for your relationship is that it protects your emotional space. It allows you to create time and space for interdependence. So a way that you can be an individual, your partner is an individual, and you're able to come together. It allows you to separate thoughts, feelings, and needs. It allows you to increase security between you and your partner. It also allows you time to enrich your relationship. You can encourage healthier attachments with each other. It allows you more time to spend with people that you love. It encourages healthy communication as well as emotional expression. And it allows for shared experiences so that you can create more memories with your partner. So the main part of this is still saying that there's always a way. So I'm going to give you examples from 3 different types of couples. These are couples that I've just seen throughout my therapy career as well as my coaching career. So we're looking at couple one, which is like two high achieving partners. So those that might be lawyers, doctors, business owners, something where there's a lot of time put into the work, but then also it just keeps you very, very busy. Couple two, we have an educator and a laborer. And then for couple three, we have a stay-at-home parent, and then you have the breadwinner. So different types of couples. You may be able to relate to one or all, but hopefully you're able to take something away from it. So with couple one, they're both high achieving, they both have busy schedules, and they both bring in high amounts of money. So there isn't any real competition or issue like that of who's providing more financially for the family, anything like that. So some solutions may be that when partner A's schedule is slow, for example, if they are a doctor, they may have a rotating type of schedule. One maybe that it is 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, something like that. That's where you would focus on spending more time together in that like off time. They planned activities weeks and months out because your schedule is kind of the same. So you're just looking far ahead and planning things. And then even something as small as running errands together is couple time. For couple two, partner A had to attend additional schooling. So partner B started working early in their 20s. They've been at their job for a long time. So then when it came to their partner needing to take time off from work, they did overtime and they were able to provide for the family. Overall, they both work very long hours, and this particular couple has kids. So some solutions, they sought help from family members to watch kids when they were younger. They needed more consistency with their schedules to have dinner together as a family. So for them, they decided like something we can at least do, have dinner together. So we're going to make sure that our schedules stop at a certain time and we're able to come together. Partner B only worked overtime once or twice a week instead of, say, every night. And then they scheduled regular weekly check-ins. So things are a little bit busier because they have kids, they have work. So instead, there's more like weekly check-ins for them. Then for couple three, partner A is a stay-at-home mom. Partner B has a leadership role at work, and they also work from home. So both of them are very exhausted by the end of the night. So partner B has a hard stop from the workday. So maybe that's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. And then they made sure that they took some time for themselves to switch from the worker hat to the parent and spouse hat. The couple sought help from family to watch kids. So again, getting support from the outside. It wasn't just the two of them. They planned a regular date night at least once a month. Partner A and B had respective days for personal activities. So giving themselves time to breathe, be themselves, and not have to worry about being a parent. And then they both worked on maintaining a strict bed routine for the kids so that their together time was before they went to bed. So with them being on the same page, kids go to bed at a certain time. They're able to do the things that they need to or want to together until they go to bed. So overall, the takeaways are that you need to find out if you and your partner are on the same page about the emotional distance or time that you spend together. From there, you review your schedules to really see where things can be changed, where boundaries can be added. You make time together a priority. That's a really, really big part. From there, you plan time together. Maybe that means you have activities that you can do at home, so you don't always have to go out or always have to spend money. From there, you can also seek the help of others that you trust, whether it's watching your kids, watching your animals, so that you're not just like in the house all the time, can't do anything, and like couple time is just more of an annoyance because you see your partner all the time. It's also helpful to find a routine as well as to make time for yourself as well. So that's all I have for today. Again, my name is Taylor Mountain. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I also have an MBA in hospitality leadership and entrepreneurship. So I just have this interest in how to balance work and life and have the best relationships that you can. You'll see here my social media information. So please check me out. Also, take a picture or use a little QR code that leads you right to my website so that you can find out additional information. So I'm grateful to be here. Thank you, Thomas, for having me, and hopefully you learned something today.
Yeah, that was special, Taylor. Thank you for sharing. You
Yeah,
guys, go ahead and take a picture of that. If you're sitting in front of your computer for at work, maybe go ahead and scan that code. And then also, Taylor, if you could pop in the chat,
yeah,
it'll go to Facebook and to YouTube. The place where you want them to be able to go. Okay,
certainly.
appreciate it, Taylor. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Uh huh. All right, you guys. So one down, and I'm telling you guys, I don't even know how I ended up with all this fire. We just ended up with a lot of fire, right? That's what happens whenever you are pleasing the one that you're supposed to be pleasing and serving the people like you're supposed to serve them. You get what it is that you need. So a lot of fire. Okay, so our next guest is Terrain, and Terrain, you'll have to let me know if I said the name right.
Absolutely. You did a fantastic job saying my name. So thank you, Thomas, for the
Oh,
opportunity and for getting my name right.
you're welcome. All right. Well, I'll let you introduce yourself and let everybody know about what it is that you have for us today.
Perfect. Hello, everybody. My name is Terrain. I am the owner of the Behind the Shade show, where we talk about everything relationship related. So we tackle the personal, we tackle the professional, we tackle the romantic. So what I'm going to do today is I want to bring to you, each and every one of you, something that I do here. So I am going to share my screen here. But before I do so, I just want to make sure that everyone is okay with this, because we are going to debunk some myths and we're going to have some uncomfortable truth. So let me begin by sharing my screen here. Okay. So my presentation is, are you committed to creating love? I know many of us all want it. Many of us have been heartbroken by it, and many of us know someone that just seems like they can't figure it out. So hopefully at the end of my segment here, I can help you with one of the three, but ultimately all three. So, introduction. Once again, my name is Terrain. I'm the owner of Behind the Shade Show, and we talk about many things related to our relationships. So, just to give you guys a high overview at some of the stats here, marriages rates per 1,000 people in the United States, Germany, Japan, Sweden, all the way down to where I'm located in Canada. In 1991, it was much better than what it is today. And there's many reasons for that. But one thing I think people tend to forget is the way we view marriages have changed. So now we have the rise in common law unions. Back in the day, my grandmother used to always tell me, Thomas, and for those listening, that are you really going to have a woman with you and you're going to live in sin? Because she thought we're going to do all kinds of crazy things away from her ever and forever glaring eye. But that's not necessarily the case these days. Some people want to test drive the car, as they say, before they make that purchase. So what we're seeing is we're seeing the rise in common law unions as marriages traditionally have gone down, they've actually increased. And if you guys note here, the average age of marriages was 25.6. Now is actually 35.3. So what we're seeing is we're seeing men and women and everything in between, non-binary, gender fluid. What they're doing now is they're waiting a little bit longer because of school, because of their career opportunities, because they're just trying to make sure that Johnny down the street is actually the right person for them. So the dating commitments. Number one, and most importantly, make sure you fix yourself first. Many of us have past trauma that we don't know how to resolve, or, and I know that I've experienced this, and a lot of people that I work with have experienced this. You're too proud to admit it. Don't let the sins of your past prevent the success of your future. So that boyfriend you had in the past, that girlfriend you had in the past, the crazy ex that continues to follow you wherever you go, make sure you fix yourself and your situation first before you enter anything new. You owe it to yourself, you owe it to the person, but most importantly, you owe it to your peace and to your happiness. Who are you? This is sometimes known as, what do you bring to the table? I know my dating experiences on the first or second date, it seems like an interview. Who are you? Where are you going? How much do you earn? Where do you work? Are you 6 feet tall? Do you have 6 inches? Do you have six figures? Many men have come victim or fallen victim to the 3 6s: 6 figures, 6 feet, and the legendary 6 inches. It is definitely more to that. You want to make sure that if you were to strip away all of your credentials, if you were to strip away your job title, who are you? But more importantly, who do you want to be? Do you want to be a husband? Do you want to be a wife? Do you want to be an LTR, a long-term relationship? What is it that you want to bring to the table outside of your credentials, your education, your job? That is a definitely difficult conversation that we need to have within ourselves before we can date healthily, successfully, and with good intention. That brings me to my next point: in good faith. Approaching the relationship in good faith by setting expectations of yourself. Remember, that is most importantly, expectations of yourself, and then creating boundaries for the type of dating result or results that you want. Are you the type of person that you're just thinking a wham, bam, and thank you, ma'am? Is it a casual situation? You need to be upfront. You need to have that conversation. Are you looking to get married? If that's the case, is the person that you're dating have a similar state of mind? Do they want to get married? Is religion going to be a part of your relationship? Is it going to be part of your children? Are you going to have children? Where are you going to live? Is the person you meet today the person you can marry tomorrow? And that's what setting boundaries and creating boundaries and maintaining them. That's how you find out if what you're doing today is going to give you the result you want tomorrow. I want it all, but are you the type of man that the women that you want to date would want? So I'll give you guys an example here. In my 20s, I'm in my early 30s now. In my 20s, I couldn't date to save my life. I would get first dates, maybe second dates, but I just couldn't figure it out. And then one day I said, Terrain, what are you looking to do? What is it that you want? So I started asking the consumer, meaning I started asking the women that would tell me no, the type of man that they want. If it truly is a dating market, what is the market demands? What are the market's expectations? These are things that you're going to have to navigate and begin to ask, because no one is so great, no one is so unique that they can just appear and say, ladies, here I am God's gift to you all. Because remember, God rested on the seventh day, but he created me on the sixth. No one is so special. So we have to make sure that we're asking the right questions. Questions, and more questions, right? Make sure you guys figure out who you want, what you want, and how you're going to obtain it. So to summarize, fix yourself first and ask yourself, who are you? Make sure you approach everything in good faith. And you may want it all, but do you have it all to offer the person that you want? And as I will close today, is I want to share one thing. You guys can find me at facebook.com Behind the Shades. You can go to my website, behindtheshades.ca, because I want to make sure that each and every one of you understand what is going on. And I do see a note that you guys weren't able to see my slides, but what I could do is I can also share the slides with each and every one of you. I can send it out if that's okay with you, Thomas. And we can definitely help each and every one of you find love in all the right places, because I know some of us have found it in all the wrong places.
Hmm. Yeah, appreciate that, Train. If you can pop that inside of the comments section, your info, I'd appreciate that. Yeah, the slides were they stopped going, but we got you presenting, which was lovely. So that works out perfect. But yeah, please put your information in so that they can find you later on. Okay.
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity. I will definitely do that.
Thank you. We'll talk to you soon, and thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
All right, you guys. I'm telling you, I don't even know how it happened. I don't even know how it happened. We just ended up with so much fire. I'm excited about it. So before our next guest starts, let me just um, talk to you guys for a moment about a follow up of what I initially started talking about. So, one side of things that I talked about was the attitude that you're taking into your relationship. So, that's one side of things. Um, but then the other side of things is, um, who are you being in general in life? You may not be living up to your own expectations. You may not be living up to anybody's expectations. Probably if you're not living up to your own, you're not living up to anybody's expectations, really. So that could be the situation. And as you do that, you kind of cause havoc in your relationship. And understand the reason that happens is because everybody can see that you're doing less than what you could be doing. You could feel it, and that creates a certain amount of angst, and you might go to battle somebody else about like how well you're doing, but the truth is that you're the one who's actually like struggling and not necessarily doing what it takes to be the best version of yourself inside of your relationship. So there's a lot of opportunities. So as much as you might have a good attitude about your relationship, there's a lot of opportunity for you to be able to stretch yourself into becoming the person that you need to become. And I don't know, there is a settling amount that you can do, but there's also not really a stopping point. And so if you play small, or if you have a mentality of smallness and not abundance, meaning like, I want to be the best possible person that I could be, I want to be the best possible partner that I could be. If you are playing small, if you're not saying those things and seeking those things out and trying to figure that out, that can cause havoc in your relationship. And the reason is because we search for each other to create abundance, right? We search for that. And you could look at all kinds of things in this earth, like what happens to a peach tree or a peach seed, right? That peach seed you put inside of you put inside the ground, and it grows, and then it ends up producing tons of other peaches. And who knows the amount of peaches that came out of that one peach seed, because each peach that it produced turns into a whole lot more. Okay, so why do I say all that? Because that's inside of you. So at some rate, you and your partner have that destination or that need to create so much abundance. And if you're playing small, what it feels like to somebody else is like, man, this person isn't giving me their all. I want more, right? And you start creating that angst in your relationship. Or if you're playing small, even for yourself, there's going to be a hardship for you because you're playing small. You don't even have the right mentality that it would take to really grow and create the relationship that you want. So there's a lot of reasons that I would want you to have abundance, but one of the big reasons I want you to start thinking of being bigger in mind and in heart and in connection. The reason I want you to start thinking of that is because of the thriving relationship I'm asking you to create, right? The thriving relationship that you wanted to create. That's the reason why you're watching this at some rate, right? So the only way to get to that, though, is not to have a mentality of lack or less than or play or somehow think playing small in any area of your life. The question cannot ever just be a flat out no, or a flat out yes to whatever limits there are, right? It can't be that. It has to be, how do we grow this thing? Whatever it is that you have in your relationship, how do we grow this scenario? So it'll always be interesting to me if people aren't even seeking that scenario out, right? You can't be settled with, oh, we never fight. We always get along. There's something missing. And I hate to be that person to say, like, either you're lying or you're trying and it's not working, right? There has to be some kind of things that mean growth. And in growth, there's always going to be some kind of hardship. But then after that, you grow even bigger. That's the way it works. That's the way our muscles grow. That's the way everything grows, right? So just understand there's opportunity for you in your relationship. If you can put that mentality of abundance inside, you cannot play small, right? You may have the right attitude in your relationship, but you might be playing too small. And if you're doing that, that's going to keep you from having all the things that you want in your relationship. Okay. So those are 2 nuggets that I gave you guys. Our next guest is already here, JP. So I'm going to let JP introduce himself and talk to you guys. And JP, you're on. Thank you.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I am JP Marsh. I am a relationship coach, specifically on and around co-parenting. And your past impacts your present. And your co-parenting relationships in general, but specifically if you can't get to a place past the conflict into collaboration, it makes it really hard to move forward. It makes it really hard to propel. And I work with people who are recently separated, recently divorced, all the way to just wanting to be in a better place with their children's parents or, their ex. A little bit about me. I have a daughter who is 8 years old. Her mother and I separated right after she turned 2. And I've made just about every mistake that you could make as far as trying to navigate a co-parenting relationship that is healthy. And after years and trials and tribulations, we're in a place now to where it's no big deal to sit by each other at the sporting events. It's no big deal to sit by each other at school events. And we talk frequently, mostly all that has to do in or around our daughter, how she's doing in school, what needs to be done, things that she needs. If she's in trouble here, she's in trouble there. What she's eating here, she's eating there. There's nothing that pits us against each other as far as that goes. To an extent that we do barbecues during the summer, do holidays with myself, my partner, my ex, her boyfriend, partner, a couple other families that are around, all the kids, all that stuff. Having a good relationship with her makes it easier for me to have a good relationship with my partner now, because we've all heard the terms and phrases of baby mama drama, baby daddy issues, and 40% of the families in the United States are blended families. Somebody is bringing a child into the relationship, which means you are bringing another adult with another set of problems, with another set of stressors, triggers, anxiety issues, conflict, possibly, whether it's directly from that other person or them using the children, hopefully not. And then, as Thomas was saying earlier, your attitude is going to dictate a lot of the things that transpire. Your attitude towards your ex, your attitude towards your children. These things all matter. And if you can get to a place where you have less conflict outside of your current relationship, it's easier to focus on the strengths and what you need to be fulfilled and what they need to have done in areas to be fulfilled to have a healthy relationship with your current partner. Some of the tools to get in a place of civility or at least common ground with your ex is, not make everything about you. Your attitude towards being defensive for no reason, or poking, engaging if they're poking. All of these things are going to bleed over into your current relationship. And I mean, there's no way that they couldn't. So unless you are able to step outside of the initial reactions, take a breath, figure out what their intentions are. If they're just trying to needle, don't engage. The attitude that you have when you show up to do handoffs or, the past traumas. If you're bringing your past traumas, just like he had said a few minutes ago, from an old relationship into a new relationship, it's a little tricky when it's an actual person that you are connected to for the rest of your life, but it is possible. And I work with people to help navigate the minefields of co-parenting in order to be okay themselves, in order to be their best version going into a relationship with a new partner or trying to get into marriage or a serious relationship or a place of happiness. But without dealing with the traumas, without having the boundaries, without watching your attitude towards the other person, it's not likely that you're going to find somebody on the level that you're probably looking for. If you want somebody that is able to have healthy relationships, you have to be able to have healthy relationships. Even your past relationships have to be healthy because you have a child together and you're going to be connected to them for the entire rest of your life and their families. So setting the boundaries, not engaging with the pettiness, working through your dramas and the traumas and your triggers and identifying those things. And just being an adult, especially if you can't have good relationships outside of your romantic current relationship, sooner or later that mask is going to be pulled off. Like they say, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So that's pretty much all I got for you. Hopefully you can get some value from the importance of having healthy co-parenting relationships.
I think that's huge, JP. When I saw that you signed up for our conversation, and you were batting cleanup, I was like, yeah, that's an important conversation, because what I do know is the stats for divorce are high, which means that we
Right.
get a lot of split families. So I thought it was really important that you come on and have a conversation and add to the value of couples being able to thrive in their current relationships, especially when they're able to do the previous one well now with children involved. It helps them
Right.
to thrive. So
yeah, I mean, you got to be able to, you have to mend that area and that relationship and at least get to a place of civility, because it can throw so many wrenches into every happy,
right.
Vacation. If you and your new partner decide you're going to get married and they want to throw a big fit, I mean,
Yeah.
you may not have your child in your wedding
Mm-hmm.
if it's not your weekend, and getting to a place of collaboration. I mean, there's just nothing that's going to beat it to make your life easier moving forward in a new relationship, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, in order for us to have that, we have to become who we need to. And I hear you describe that, and that's a really important piece. You know, us becoming who we need to be, no matter what. You know, how you do anything is how you do everything, right? So,
Right.
okay, cool deal. Well, I appreciate you coming on, JP. Can you pop your information into the chat so that they can get a hold of you, or a place
Yeah.
for them to get a hold of you?
Perfect. Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Thank you so much, JP. I appreciate
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right, you guys, man. So we've come to the end just about. I'm going to give you guys mine, and then, yeah, you guys are going to have to miss me after that. And all of our guests have been so amazing. And so, you know, if any of our guests come back and you're watching this, I appreciate all of you for coming on and giving goodness. My whole thinking initially of what I want to do is collaborate and put everybody together and get a lot of people that come in. And to be honest, when we're live, not a whole lot of people are watching, but I noticed that throughout our playbacks or in our YouTube, a lot of people go on and are able to reflect on a lot of different tasks, especially once they're broken up into their own videos. So it's such an amazing opportunity for you guys to be able to grow your relationships and have more information that really is going to be helpful to you. So I'm glad that you guys can have it, and I want you guys to really be good in your relationships. What I know is that as you're good in your relationship, you're going to be good everywhere else in life. And so I'm excited for you guys to be able to have all these tools. And so let's talk a little bit about our last leg. So if you go back to the very first day, which was 5 weeks ago now, there's 5 Wednesdays. On my very first Wednesday, I talked to you about going inside out. And in that conversation of going inside out, the key was that that was going to lay the foundation for everything that we have to do. Well, here we are at Thriving Couples Money, and the concepts really don't change as far as inside out, but there's some things that are blocking you as a couple from having all the things you want. So let's go through these. And let's start out with the importance of money management and relationships. So it is a super important thing. What I'm not going to do is go over some of the things that you would normally, or you could probably look up, like how to budget and all of that. Like that's for somebody else. Maybe even find a financial advisor. We had a couple scheduled for this during our time period here, so you can look them up as well. So we're not going into that as much, but what I want you to know is that your money in your relationship could either be a source of empowerment or it can create conflict in your relationship. Right. So you guys could really remember I talked about abundance earlier. Like you guys could really be focused on growing that thing. But if one of you decides like, I don't want it to be that big, well, abundance is a part of us and that's an opportunity. So how do we grow it? If you could focus on growing it, then it starts to be like, oh, we're putting something together and we're actually contributing together. And it's something that we can connect around. And it's something that we make sure that we're creative with. Like all those things start to happen inside of that relationship. And then we feel more empowered in our relationship. But if we're not doing that, then it starts creating more conflict for us. It could be another situation that adds conflict to our relationship. So it's super important. So in order for us to do it differently, you have to assess what your money blueprint is. And what you're going to know about your money blueprint is that there are things that you're not even aware of that you operate on in your relationship today. And it causes you conflict in your relationship, right? So you might not even be aware of some of the beliefs and the attitudes that you have about money, whether it's a fear or whether it's a saying or whether it's a scarcity mindset or whatever it is. You may have no idea about it being there until you start reviewing your money blueprint. And the reason that you want to do this and the reason you want to look at it is because you have this underlying interaction that's going on. So let's say that one of you in your relationship is not even mindful of money and drops it everywhere and throws it everywhere. And the other person is like, oh, I need to hold on and make sure everything's in order. If you have those two different opposites, and you don't understand each other, you might not even understand yourself. And if I don't understand myself, I can't help explain it to the person who I'm loving. And if I can't explain it and frame it for that person, they're going to always be at a point of unease with my way of managing and being in relationship with money. So you need to understand your money blueprint. Eventually, and you'll get to this as you understand, your money blueprint will actually change the outcomes and the behaviors that you're going to do. And so it's going to be important that you start looking at how it goes. But as I described earlier, even whether it's subconscious or conscious, you're going to have an outcome. You're going to interact with it. If you're afraid of what happens if you spend too much, you're going to interact with that fear. If you don't care enough and you're not paying enough attention, you're going to create anxiety in your partner because it looks like you're reckless, right? So no matter what, all those things that you know about money subconsciously in your money blueprint are going to affect your relationship with money, which ultimately affects your relationship's money. So how do you assess it? Well, to me, it's an easy thing to say how to assess it, but it's going to be a harder thing to do because your body doesn't like change. And so your body's going to recognize, hey, if I do all this assessing, it means I'm going to have to change, right? And so the first thing is you need to be able to reflect a little bit on what you have been taught. Look at, what you learned from your parents. Look at some of the mindsets. Look at some of the sneaky sentences that you have. Look at some of your answers that you're giving to scenarios about money. Look at your responses. All those are important things to be able to look at. Look at your financial statements, because your financial statements won't lie. Like, that's the outcome, right? No matter what, you might not know exactly what the blueprint is that's tied to that, but if you look at them, you could say like, "Ooh, I like it," or "I don't like it," right? And then look at your patterns of money management. And so a little bit like your financial statements, but even before you get to the financial statements, you might not even have the money to look at financial statements, but you might say, look, I've got the same thing going in that I got coming out, or I got more coming in than I have going out. Whatever that pattern is that you have, you want to be able to look at that, and that's going to help you to assess where you're at. So the 5 mindsets are all about what could be holding you in the place that you're in, and then also what it would take to start having a thriving relationship overall, right? So we want to be able to have like this idea that says, as a couple, we have thriving relationship money. That's what we have, right? And we want to be able to say that. So what is it gonna take? Well, one is unknowing something that we know, and then it's knowing something different. Okay. All of these things that I'm going to give you as far as mindsets are based on principle. I don't have time necessarily to go into the principle today. And if you want to join our challenge, we actually do go into principle. You can get that challenge by going to shinecampus.com. But for today, the 5 mindsets that we'll talk about, we'll start here. So scarcity versus abundance. I've talked a lot about abundance today, so I won't go too much into it, but I will talk about scarcity. So scarcity is the idea that there won't be enough, right? I was just on a coaching call today with other people who run businesses, and one of the hesitations that somebody brought up was that, well, I was always afraid to teach somebody what I know and tell them how to grow the business like how I've done it, because I don't want more competition, right? Well, that's accidentally a scarcity mindset. I want us to feel like there's not a limit. There's more than we ever will need that's available to us. Now, if we have a scarcity mindset, we might not see it that way, but that's just the truth, right? Or there won't be enough, or I have to somehow hold on, to everything because it might not come back again. Like, this is the last opportunity. That scarcity mindset can create the opposite of thriving relationship money. Fear versus courage. So fear, and I honestly think that fear and scarcity have some similarities or some overlap. But if you're operating afraid of, constantly worried about what the outcomes will be, right? If you're constantly worried about those things, then your fear starts becoming bigger than your actual pursuit of growing in abundance, right? So sometimes you have to be courageous, right? Sometimes you have to put things on the line without being reckless whenever you've done your homework to grow the things that you grow or that you want to grow, or they're going to create more in your relationship, right? And that takes courage for us to be able to, one, learn more, because a lot of times we just are where we are, and then two, go forward with our learning, right? Because part of us becoming masters at anything is us being able to do things over and over again. And so the more you put yourself out there and create those opportunities, which takes courage, then the less likely you are going to operate with fear when it comes to money. The past versus future orientation. So I started to describe this in our last slide, but if you're always looking at what happened before, though, right? Or what did my parents say? Or what was I told growing up? If you're always looking at what has happened already, then you're not going to create the thriving relationship money that's going to help the conversations around money, that's going to actually get you to, as a couple, to really get to a thriving point, right? So we have to have more of a future orientation that says, look, we want to grow this, and the way to get to that growth spot is not about being stuck in the past and saying this already happened bad, so I'm not going to do that thing. It has to really be like, hey, we're headed a direction, and on the way to that direction, there's going to be hangups. There's going to be hardships, but we're not worried about that because we know what the future destination is. So whatever the in between is, or whatever the hardship is in between, we're headed somewhere, right? So be more future oriented, and you're headed towards thriving as a couple. Entitlement versus gratitude. So don't let this in your mind contradict everything that we just talked about. Entitlement is obviously the idea that says that something already is coming to you. You're not owed anything, right? Like there's a process to everything. And just because you do one thing doesn't mean that you're going to get all the things that you're supposed to be having, or that now all of a sudden, like, you know, it's time for you to have the money and everything else. That's not the way it works, right? But if you can drop that sense of entitlement, like this should be mine, or it should be a certain way, and grow more gratitude, this helps us to keep a perspective and an attitude that will create wealth for us as a couple and grow our money in a different kind of way. Complexity versus simplicity. And I put distraction in there because the way I see complexity is you start paying attention to too many things, right? You're always in somebody else's business, or you have somebody else's business, like whatever somebody else is doing in their life, right? Or somehow, like, there's the TV show that you watch every single day, or there's different things that mean distractions for you, and put too many things in your life that don't allow you just to zero in. I think I might have talked about this last week, but there was this concept that I read where they said, the difference between throwing a bullet at somebody and then that bullet being shot is it becomes more dangerous when the precision or the hit of that precision is in one spot, right? So you get more, there's other pieces about that, but the idea is if you can just hone in on one spot and hit that spot right, then that one simple spot makes that much more of a difference, because you can be more precise about what you're doing, put all your energy into that scenario. So don't have energy leaks with all the possible distractions. Yours could be something totally different than mine. But in general, I want you to think about, like, I can't make things too complex. I have to really simplify as much as possible what it is that I'm doing and go at it, right? And the more that you can do that in your relationship as a couple, then you're headed towards those things that we want to have in the money arena. So the last one, this is kind of a bonus. The last one, it's an important concept that I feel like, and I think I'll draw two out of this. So time versus money. So the idea that time is equal to money is a false premise, or a not an effective way of thinking about time and money. Time is actually infinitely more important than money. And we all know that. We all know that at some rate, that, but we don't act like it. right? So we spend a lot of time trying to get money and less time with our person, right? So if you can, and there are seasons, and so I could respect that maybe you might be in a season, but make sure that you're coming back around to spend more time with the people that you're loving. And specifically, we're talking about thriving couples with your person. Don't let the pursuit of money take away more time than the pursuit of your relationship, because we all know that our time is way more important than our money. Our time with that person is way more important to us than the money, right? And so I think that that's an important concept for you to be able to have. At the same time, I will say, and kind of flipping it a little bit and giving you a different bonus. Wealth in general kind of has a need for speed. So it needs to happen quicker, right? And so the more you can think about that, it's a good way for you to be able to start thinking different ways to get money in your relationship and to be able to form it. Like me making $50 over the last $50,000 over the last year is not the same as me making $50,000 in 30 or 3 months or 6 months, right? So just kind of think about that. Like it has a need for speed, and we need to be able to put things in place that will help propel that. All right. So how do we shift these mindsets? Well, awareness, challenging our negative beliefs, adopting positive affirmations. And then I also gave you the mindset to shift to. So that's going to help you to be able to shift those mindsets as much as possible. Okay. I talked a little bit about this earlier in our conversation before Terrain started talking. But I will tell you, or before JP started talking, how playing small on money contradicts your relationship boom. And this is a really important topic. Okay. If you settle on I can't afford, or if you settle on no's for how much money we're going to make, or you settle for I'm good with whatever the position. I'm not trying to insult anybody. I want everybody to know that there's going to be a hardship to make your relationship boom if you play small in the money area. You have to, as a couple, think about money growth and wealth growth and being able to manage that and do it in a big kind of way. You have to be able to do that. Why? Because if I'm not doing that, then that act small isn't something that's attractive. That act small isn't something that propels goodness in my relationship, right? That act small isn't something that's helping me become the best version of myself. So you can't play small in the money idea and think that your relationship will actually flourish and it will be a part of you guys thriving as a couple. What you have to understand is that part of it is, and there's not a number value on this, you guys. So I'm not saying like everybody needs to make $1 million. What I'm saying is that you need to be thinking in your mind, like, hey, money growth is an important thing for us, period. Right. And how do we do that? And we need to draw that out together, because otherwise your relationship is just shrinking. Right. So I think it was JP that mentioned earlier, how we do anything is how we do everything. Right. So here's what playing small means to me: avoiding financial responsibilities, not investing, fearing risk, playing victim, employing scarcity mindsets, fighting instead of growing, and then being distracted. So fighting instead of growing is a huge deal. That's playing small, right? You don't have time for fights and arguments constantly, right? They will happen, but you don't have time for them constantly. Being distracted, like what's the thing that you're doing as an individual that's taking time away from what you can be doing as a couple to really grow things? So what would be the consequences? Well, one is that if we're not doing the things that we need to, there's going to be conflict. There's going to be a lack of trust. You're not going to be reaching your full potential as a couple. Okay. And I think that that's really important for us to recognize. How do you stop playing small? Well, if you can get together and set goals together, right? That's the first thing, is create a picture or a vision, of what's going on. And then start opening yourselves up and believing in that there's actually opportunities for us to learn more. Whatever you've known to this point in your life is everything that you've been taught. Maybe it's a lot about money, maybe it's not. But open up your opportunities for mindset shifts and mindset changes, right? So that you can actually grow you and thinking differently about money the more people you talk to, you'll be introduced to concepts that you can pick up and drop off, right? And then take calculated risks together. Figure out a plan and have some fun things. And it may not be fun all the way through, but just have some things that you could start taking risks together as a couple. And then money flows through income producing assets. So this is a concept that I think that is an interesting way of being able to look at money. So there's 3 opportunities here. One opportunity is that you make money and then you just pay bills with it, right? You don't really want to be in that scenario. You want to get out of that scenario as soon as you can. The second scenario is you make enough money not to just pay bills. You get extra money. Instead, you go buy things like toys, right? And then you end up paying the bills of those. So now your money goes from making the money to paying for your toys and then paying the bills, right? So it goes out that way. The third way, and the only way that we really want to do things, is we want to take our money that we make and then put it into income producing assets. What are those things? And that's what as a couple, something that you could start thriving on, is just start working on what would be an income producing asset. From your income producing assets, you start buying all the things that you want from that area. You even pay your bills out of that. But then your income producing assets actually go back into your income, right? And then can kick back and kick back and forth so that you have some baby making dollars, right? And so that's kind of the goal. So you create a couple's money vision, and that's an important thing, for you guys to talk about. Okay, what does it actually look like for us, and can we start talking about it more often? If you can create a couple's money vision, it starts you guys being propelled on the same route that says, look, we're thriving together because we're ambitious together, right? And because we're ambitious together, we feel like we are unstoppable. Nothing can stop us. And because we feel like nothing can stop us, we start executing in all the things that we need to execute on. Okay. All right, you guys, that is our week, our week 5. August is over, so I hope you guys have enjoyed everything about Thriving Couples. I appreciate all of our guests for showing up. It's been helpful. It's been helpful to me. I hope it's been helpful to everybody else. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.